2018. The Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources imposed a moratorium on logging in public and community forests to save the country's draining natural resources. But the directive may have had unintended consequences. In Subukia, Nakuru County, this exposed forests in private farms to further destruction. The insatiable appetite for timber now threatens the springs that give life to River Subukia that supports thousands of lives in Nakuru and Baringo counties. And to visit Bridget Sangana trailed the river from source, tracing its path towards the Lake Bogoria, where it empties.
She stands tall, her canopy once part of the lush Mau forest. That's until the British annexed it during the colonial era as they set up shop in Nakuru. High exotic trees forming part of the building blocks progressing Nakuru's civilization to date. The Bahati forest in Nakuru is a hoary fortress where the Momoi springs burble, giving rise to the Subukia River. The spring winds from the farms in Nyandarua, carving through this forest as it heads down towards Subukia.
These are very important forests in supporting the community that surround these forests. Several rivers emanate from these forests, one of them being Chania River, Crater Lake River, Momoi River, and others. We have an area of around 3,300 area covered by natural forests and about 2,300 plus area covered by plantations.
Here, the waters are clear, undisturbed. But on the other side of this hill, farming activities have tainted the waters and obstructed the waterways. This forest supports not just the community that neighbors it here in Bahati, but thousands of lives, where the waters of the Momoi spring flow to, downwards towards Solai, and finally to Baringo through Lake Bogoria.
What is the importance of that tree?
Prunus is a medicinal tree.
When we visit, the annual national tree planting activities to restore the forest are in high gear. This forest alone has thousands of acres in need of rehabilitation. Some sections will get indigenous tree seedlings and others will go into the commercial plantations.
We are expecting to cover an area about that 9.8 hectares that we shall have replanted in our plantation areas. Our rehabilitation, we have marked about 30 hectares that we are going to do this year.
It has been 3 years since the Ministry of Environment put a stop to the harvesting of trees in government forests, and this has had an immediate impact on the ecology surrounding this forest all the way to Subukia.
Changamoto zingine zinatokea katika mashambani ya watu, ambaye controlling katika mashamba inakuwa si mzuri sana. Na ukiangalia kama haswa saa hii kulikuwa na ile ban ya msitu. Wakati watu hawapati zile commodity, unakuta wale nao wako katika pande ya own farm wanakata miti kwa maana iko na pesa.
Our forests also contributes to the bigger catchment of the water or the stream that is famously referred in the shrine, and more so the Nyandarua side that is in private land. Although the shrine is in private land, the biggest challenge with that area is that it's not really our jurisdiction as a forest station for that area. But as with the different stakeholders, we can be able, and we have started addressing those issues.
To understand the impact of this degradation, we head to Subukia. At this point, the Momoi spring has merged with other waterways to form the larger Subukia River. Here, there is no government forest, just settlements. Agriculture and an appetite for timber has driven farmers into cutting down most of the indigenous trees and vegetation that covered this area. But it wasn't always like this.
Lakini mwaka wa 74 hii shamba ikakuwa allocated kwa serikali ndio ikuwe shared kwa wale squatters wako hapa. Yenyewe mazingira hapa ilikuwa nzuri sana, sababu miti ile natural trees ilikuwa kwa nyingi sana, na misitu hapa ilikuwa nzuri sana, sababu wazungu walikuwa very tough. Hakuna mtu alikuwa anatakiwa kwenda kuharibu mti, lakini nyumaye wakati wazungu walienda ndio tupate hata miti ya kujenga, yani material ya kujenga. Tulitegemea sana ile miti ilikuwa hapa. Kwa kusema kweli tuliharibu.
I came down from beyond a place called Miroreni. That's where I grew. So when we were visiting Subukia, we were passing through forest. One thing that caused me to love forest is the crickets that used to make a lot of noise. When you're passing through the forest, there are trees, we say that they do what we call exhalation. They drop waters. Those are the things, and the birds. The only place I've seen some forests that look like that in Meru. I grew up in that area and the river was big. Maybe because I was a small child, I could be seeing a big river, but the channel shows it was a big river. But my observation is, yes, it has shrunk.
Residents believe that the prime vegetation and the flowering environment were very key in the establishment of the Subukia National Shrine, a central place where Catholic faithful have been communing every year to pray for the nation. But even this hallowed place is under threat. We came here to get the real picture and understand how the environment here is linked to the beliefs of the more than 7 million Catholic faithful in Kenya.
2010, we started having now a serious program, national program for all the pilgrims. So the bishops every year do arrange that we have what we call the National Prayer Day.
The shrine was purchased from a private owner in the late 80s, and it is a favorite for Catholic faithful across the country, like Richard Mohoro, who has been coming here with his family for the past 2 decades.
Hata tangu wazaliwe bado tulikuwa tunakuja hapa, tumejionea miujiza sana kwa familia yetu. Hasa wakati tuchaingia hapa, juu tumetoka mbali, inakuwa kama sacrifice. Unajitolea, unakuja kuhiji.
The highlight for every pilgrim who comes here is praying through the 14 stations in the Way of the Cross, a pathway that leads to the spring of water nestled in the forest. We join Mohoro and his family as they begin their pilgrimage. He says since he started coming here, he has never seen the waters of the spring diminish.
Hiyo maji hata mwenyewe bila kuambiwa ni ya miujiza. Unaiangalia venye inateremuka. Inaenda about, let's say 100 meters or 200 meters. Na ni maji mengi, hata ikitoka unasikia ikiguruma.
To get to the spring, we have to climb up this stretch. So we've done about 11 stations on this Way of the Cross, and we're about 3/4 way done with our journey here. And this is where pilgrims also come through to pray. And what is significant also in this journey is the serenity of this place. This is part of the indigenous forest that was in place when this shrine was established. What is significant is also the fauna it supports in terms of the colobus monkeys. You can see them even as you walk around here, and you can also breathe in the clean fresh air. And the climax of this climb is getting to the spring of water that is also a miracle of sorts just by its sighting and behavior. At this spring sighting, a monument has since been erected. Pilgrims too get to have a panoramic view of the valley as they cool off from the tedious climb.
I like this place because it's cool, then it's peaceful. Unapata tu time ya kukuja, like you pray and you be sincere, your prayers are answered. It's calm. Unasikia hadi miti venye kunakaa tu poa. The church, the grotto up there, everything is cool. Like hata ukikuja hata kama uombi, utafeel ni nature, utajipata tu naomba.
Even from here, it is evident how the growth of farmlands and human population has had an impact on the natural vegetation. Father Eric Ondieki, the shrine's director, explains the efforts they have put in place to protect this indigenous forest. Other rehabilitation works are ongoing in the shrine to ensure the natural waterways do not die off despite the pressure from her neighbors.
They associate that water with some spiritual cleansing, and many people have said it helps those who come and give testimonies about the water. Many good things have happened here up to now. That's why we have many people coming. The environment here in the shrine is very important. The trees are very important. And that's what many people appreciate, that we have managed to keep the trees well. And with the Franciscans, our duty is to take care of the environment. And remember, that's one the mandate of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis in 2015, remember, he wrote an encyclical which talks about the environment. And he says the earth is our mother, and therefore we have to take care of it. So we must preserve the environment so that people can also learn the beauty of creation.
Our visit here would be incomplete without us planting trees, and the area chief too says they have stepped up efforts to improve this location's tree cover.
Tunaona ni pahali pazuri, lakini baada ya miti kuisha kutakuwa ni pahali ambapo si pana manufaa, kitu kiendelea kupanda miti kwa sababu tunataka kuhamasisha wana youth, kwa sababu kizazi kijacho, na hasa nimehimiza wakazi wa hapa kwangu every year every person make sure at least amepanda not less than 10 trees.
The forests cover the other side. We have water flowing from Nyandarua. So when it enters into the property, so it almost disappears. Now that we have many trees there, also there are other springs, then the water flows down to the people to use it down there. So that's the significance of these trees. Why that we don't have these trees, I think people will not be having water down there.
The spring here courses through the shrine into farmlands before it joins the Mumoi River in Subukia. Here too, farms have invaded the river's banks.
To restore it, because I know this can happen. Those living around there, from the coast down, we cooperate. And it requires a lot of sensitization and encouragement. Sometimes the law needs to be applied not only by punishing the people, but opening up their minds so that they can have a different mindset and the way they look at that resource. Then they can contribute positively.
As the river snakes through the terrain, it gets to Solai, which borders Baringo County. And here too, residents reminisce how the landscape was lush and virgin in those pre-independence days. Colonial masters thrived on livestock farming.
Kila hapa yote ilikuwa nyasi iko juu. Maji ilikuwa haiwezi kutembea hata kama mvua gani inanyesha.
Nyangweso says the Mumoi River only fed sections of the wetland near Lake Solai.
Hii mto ya Pahati, Subukia hii, ndio ile. Ndio kuteremuka, anakuja, napita tu kwa railway. Nateremuka, karibu kupika kwa ile milima, anarudi. Sasa nakuja kutokea pale. Lakini ilikuwa nyasi mingi, ilikuwa hiyo maji hawezi kuweza na nafikiri ni ya nguvu ya maji ya nyasi ilikuwa na shinda.
Nyangweso believes that at independence, the rush for locals to own land also contributed to the wanton destruction of vegetation, especially on the highlands.
Lakini wakati tulipata uhuru, watu sasa akaingia, watu wakajaa, wakakanyanga ile nyasi, yakakwisha, sasa maji yakapata nafasi ya kutambaa mahali popote. Kutoka Subukia, kunyesha, na teremukia hii mitaro.
Since Lake Solai began rising, it has drowned farmlands here. A testament of how destruction of forests upstream is having an impact on the lives of those living in the low-lying areas.
Yenyewe sijapima, lakini kulingana na vile mimi naangalia kama eka 17.
It is almost a year since Baringo residents witnessed record levels of water in lakes Baringo and Bogoria. According to the Kenya Forest Service, Baringo is ranked 3rd in the country in the area covered by forests. Yet, it is among the worst affected by climate change. To date, thousands of residents have been displaced and many more remain at risk of displacement should the levels of water in the lakes continue to rise.
Baringo gazetted forest area is 85,000 hectares in total. When there's poor management of the river system at the source, the big sufferers are the people downstream. This is because as the water leaves the source, as it moves, if the flow is not regulated, when we have adequate tree cover along the riverine areas, then that runoff results into flood. And as a result of that, people have been displaced. Some farmlands have been submerged underwater. And even wildlife sanctuaries have gone underwater.
Still, the county is intent on saving itself from the vagaries of extreme weather brought about by human actions.
As a forester, I can confidently tell you that without tree cover, you limit percolation of the rainwater into the soil. When you reduce the rate of percolation of rainwater into the soil, what you will have is increased runoff. Uncontrolled runoff will definitely fill our lakes at a rate that the lakes are unable to discharge. But that is an issue that is being studied.
The Kenya Forest Service believes the solution lies in intense public education coupled with personal responsibility.
You see, if we use forestry in a very balanced manner, they cause our rivers to stabilize and flow in a stable way. You remove forest, agriculture will be a very difficult thing. The cleaning of the air and then beauty. Look at the tourism and the ecotourism and all that. Those are the benefits that go along with the forest. Those who know how to handle them, we feel good.
Nafikiri ile kitu inaweza saidia sisi kabla sijaingia serikali ni sisi wenyewe, wewe kujua umepatiwa shamba yako na lazima wewe mwenyewe uchunge nini kama hii, kama yangu sasa, ama kama hata hii mwenyewe anachunga.
Lakini kutoka hapo watu wakaimiswa sana, serikali ikaweka maanani sana watu wachunge miti sababu ya mito, catchment areas isije kuharibika. Na kila mtu aka-understand mti, akikata mti moja anapanda 10.
But it's still unclear if the fire will burn out, especially once the government revises the moratorium on logging that had strained the last tufts of vegetation, sinking communities further into deep waters. Bridget Ngana, NTV.